Right, some bad news on the development front. One of the parts failed quality control. We know how to fix it, but it'll take some extra resource. It's on hold for now, but you can order the extra work from the laptop at any time.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2017 career mode. We're here with part number 15 today for the Malaysian Grand Prix, and unfortunately we're met with bad news to start off the episode. Our development has failed. The purchase we made at the end of the last episode for the 4th upgrade, I believe it is, to our powertrain has failed. So we're going to have to spend another 500 points to just fix that, basically, and we won't even see that upgrade come to our car until next race. So we're going to swap out the engine parts as usual, as we have done all season, and we're going to have to try and earn back those 500 points just to get the upgrade we've already technically purchased to get that for next round. So a bit unfortunate, but sometimes that's just the way the wind blows, and so we'll just have to get on with it and get those points in practice.
This weekend we're at Kuala Lumpur for the Malaysia Grand Prix, and we're starting off with today's practice session. So sit back, relax and enjoy the action. We can see, of course, plenty of activity in the garages as we wait for the green light to get this session underway. Anthony Davidson, thank you for joining me once again. What are you going to be looking out for once the cars get out there on the circuit today?
Well, naturally, in any free practice session, you can never be sure exactly what programs the teams are running, how much fuel they've put in, and so on. So it's important to resist the temptation to draw any firm conclusions from the fastest times on the monitor. What we can do, however, is look for consistent pace over the course of multiple laps. So if someone does half a Grand Prix distance and they're consistently half a second quicker than another driver doing the same, then that's generally a good indicator of a car with a solid race pace.
So running through the practice programs at Malaysia, no major issues really, apart from maybe the tyre wear test and the end of the race strategy. We got through the track acclimatization, all fine, 50 out of 50. You can see a few spits of rain here on our run on the tyre wear test at the end of FP1, meant we had to delay our tyre wear test till later into FP2. We did the fuel saving just fine, obviously plenty of places to lift and coast at Malaysia, and obviously constantly upshifting. Once again, the qualifying target, unable to get the full 50 from the qualifying pace. We've had that a few times now in the last few episodes, which has been somewhat concerning, but also not too much, because it doesn't really reflect truly on what your qualifying will be like. We did the tyre wear test eventually, and then you can see at the very end of the race strategy, we didn't get the full 50 points. We couldn't get that third lap in under the delta time, although we did get a brand new core competency progress here on the simulation development, so that'll mean some more simultaneous parts. I believe that's 3 now we can simultaneously develop, although I don't know how much of use that's going to be, because I've not really seen a point where anyone's really had that many points unless you're hoarding all your points for later on in the season, but I wouldn't really recommend that, to be completely honest. But anyway, as usual, we change our engine. We've got all the components on our 4th one, and we've got just a couple more races to go on that gearbox. So let's get into qualifying and see how we do.
Welcome to F1. It's now time for the important stuff. Time for qualifying here at the Malaysia Grand Prix. Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk, and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction. And over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong, and that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
So diving straight into qualifying, into turn 1 for our one and only final lap. It'll actually end up being this afternoon under the sunlight coming down, which I always kind of hate. I've said it before, even though it does technically make the game look a little bit better and maybe realistic in some regards back in Australia. I just hate the conditions because it just genuinely does actually blind you into some of these corners, which obviously is a part of the challenge, but it's a bit of an annoying one, to be honest. But we come across, we're going to finish off our lap now. This is our one and only lap, actually ends up being, so we don't actually see where we are until the very end of the session, but it ends up being P12, just behind our teammate. Objective failed, unfortunately, for us. You can see on the top right, but very, very close stuff there between myself and Carlos. And you can see we've outqualified Sergio Perez, though. So I guess for one regard, we've outqualified our rival in the game. But once again, Haas doing a good showing. Kevin Magnussen outqualifying us. Ocon, unfortunately, does get us as well. And Nico Hulkenberg really does good stuff there in P8 in the Renault car, which has been struggling a little bit occasionally in the last few rounds. But outqualified by a teammate, but it is a little bit close. And we do have some rain forecast for the race ahead for Sunday, so this should be a pretty interesting one, and let's see what we can do.
It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are three big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Ricciardo, Valtteri Bottas, and Massa, Stroll, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, and Carlos Sainz. A Toro Rosso, Perez, Jolyon Palmer, and Ocon, Wehrlein, Van Dorn, Romain Grosjean, and Fernando Alonso. Verstappen and Marcus Ericsson rounds off the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So I mentioned there may be some rain here at Malaysia, and indeed it's going to be starting off in the wet on intermediates. You can see though it's going to get to dry eventually and will be full sun at the very end of this race. So probably only the first stint will be the intermediates, I'm guessing. So you can see that's why I'm adjusting the stints, just so our engineer isn't blabbing in our ear about coming in for another set of intermediates, because there definitely is no point in that. You can see it'll be a bit touch and go, but there's going to be more of a point to just go straight to the dry tyres rather than a second set of intermediates. I mean, you can see there the sun is already breaking through the clouds as we go to the grid now for 5 red lights for the 15th round of the season, the Malaysian Grand Prix. We go to 5 red lights and we're underway here from P11 on the grid. Myself and Carlos gaining some positions due to some penalties, I think it was, on the grid. So now Carlos has got a much better start to me. I've had a really poor one. You can see left, right, cars coming at me. We've got Hülkenberg, no, Palmer actually indeed. I was so surprised it wasn't Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg's actually already ahead of us, sorry. So Palmer dives down the inside. He's gained 4 positions there, Palmer. So it's been a great turn one for him. Same can't be unfortunately said for us. You can see we get squeezed out by Sainz. I tried my best to force a kind of bit of space on the right hand side of him, but he was having none of it, and we basically just made a bit of contact and had to kind of let go of that position. So we're down to P12. As you can see, Hamilton and I think that's Raikkonen go side by side for the lead of this race, lead at the moment. You can see Magnussen's gone down the inside of Hülkenberg, so those two, just like real life, getting familiar with one another as we go around the outside of Carlos Sainz. To be honest, just trying to avoid hitting the back end of his car, and that actually just turned into a move, to be completely honest. I didn't actually think of making the overtake there, but I'll take it. And you can see Magnussen there gets shoved off by Hülkenberg, so the it's on the other foot really, compared to the real life Hungarian Grand Prix where Magnussen squeezed out Hülkenberg. I'm sure maybe there's some choice words in the team radio from Magnussen's side. And speaking of Magnussen, we're going to continue on to the end of lap 1. We're going to try and get a bit of slipstream here. Obviously in the wet conditions at the moment, no DRS is active yet, so just pure slipstream. And of course, after those 3 engine upgrades that we have done, and the 4th one on the way, hopefully knock on wood, next race, the car is feeling not too bad in a straight line. We are running a little bit higher wings. I think I ended up running 8.7, I think it was, on the front and rear wing. So it was a little bit high, but then that kind of counteracts the engine power we've got, the extra engine power we've got from the upgrades. So it kind of works out. It looked like we had some decent straight line speed, although I'm kind of rubbishing any of that because we do lock up into turn 1, went really deep, and then Magnussen gets us back here. A little bit more contact made, unfortunately for us, as we tried our best to stick it down the inside, although we will get some decent traction, having to soar away at the steering wheel though to try and control it so much, even in 6th gear, still trying to control the traction. But we go down the inside now and we're still battling the Dane, still trying to take this position back from him after my mistake there. Eventually in the same place we got Carlos on the previous lap, we do get Magnussen then, and we can go about our business, maybe trying to catch up to Nico Hülkenberg. But yeah, once again, like we've seen previously in this season, you know, if you make a mistake, the AI this year will kind of punish you. I mean, I feel like in previous games you could get away with making a mistake here and there, even with a few lockups and going wide, and you'd still be fine. But this year, because you have to concentrate so much more, you know, if you lose concentration just for a split second, you're going to lose a position pretty much most of the time. And so now as we move on to the beginning of lap 4, locking up again into turn 1, but this time going down the inside of Hülkenberg. A bit of contact's been made there, but he's still got the position, so that's fair enough for him. And we're trying to go around the outside. We actually break a little bit earlier to basically try and get a bit of a switchback line. It's not a total switchback, but we do straighten up the car a lot earlier than Nico, so that allows us to get the traction down a lot earlier than he does. And so we go around his outside there on the left-hand side, and we're able to try and get him. But under braking, he does actually have me, so we have to give him the room on the inside. Again, just about dancing around, just trying to find the grip and still give him the room that he needs. But we're going to go for the inside move there. We're going to get onto the racing line, and he's going to give that up that position. And so now we find ourselves in a bit of a Renault sandwich, and now we can try and look on the back of Jolly and Palmer, who so far this race, surprisingly, especially in these tricky conditions, is doing better than Nico Hulkenberg. So, I mean, I don't know, fair play, fair play. Although you can see into turn one, he's going very, very slowly. So we'll try and wrestle off this move down the inside. Very, very close stuff there on the right-hand side of our car, but just about enough room is given. And then you can see on the exit, we get so much better traction there compared to the Renault car. Obviously, the Toro Rosso, chassis-wise, we are the 4th best. Renault, I believe, are a little bit further down as the 4th worst, I think. Downforce-wise, I think we're actually technically worse than Renault. But all in all, that kind of adds up to us being able to out-traction Palmer that easily. And then on to lap 6, the end of lap 6, you can see, yeah, a little bit, that may have looked very, very funny. Hulkenberg coming into the pits and actually overtakes us into the pits. You could hear that the change of strategy kind of symbol came up on the right-hand side. And so I knew straight away that was my engineer basically asking that, do I want to change the strategy onto dry tyres? Because from previous games, that's just how that works. As soon as that pops up, that'll be probably for the changeable conditions. So I knew straight away, okay, let's just dive into the pits. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a weird kind of entry to the pit lane, but the game thankfully did not punish us at all for cutting across that grass. Probably should have, but we'll take it. It is a video game at the end of the day. So we do come into the pits for a set of soft tyres. We have lost the position to Hulkenberg, though, unfortunately, and we did lose a bit of time doing that, probably to Palmer as well. But we'll see how we go on this as we come out on a very damn track, actually, still. So it's going to be a little bit knife edge for grip there, but all in all, I think it's going to be the better place to come in, because we do come down the pit lane, we do overtake our teammate at least, and then there is Palmer. So actually, in the end of it, I'm not even sure if it was worth it. Like, I don't even think that was actually worth my time to cut across the grass, because, of course, Hulkenberg gained a lot of time. He's well ahead. Look at the mini-map. That's the other dot further up the road. That's Hulkenberg. So, really, Hulkenberg gained quite a bit from that, because I called it so late and cut across the grass, I don't think that actually ended up gaining me time. Actually, if anything, just lost me a place in this race. So now we go round the outside of Palmer and have to battle him on the exit. He squeezes us quite hard towards the grass there, but you can just see we just about hang it around the outside and we get that position back. But then on to lap 10, he actually has some very decent speed in the dry at least, so he's going to come back for a move down the inside. We've broken very cautiously because it's still a little bit slippery here, and I'm just not too sure about the grip levels. Pretty much a lot like China, if you remember back all the way to episode number 2 of this season. Pretty much a case of I had to kind of get used to the conditions because I wasn't fully confident yet of how much grip I had going to any of these corners. So it was a case of I'll brake a little bit earlier on purpose just so I don't know if I'm going to spin off straight away because it's too damp still. And then on to lap 11, Verstappen cruises up to us and actually make it very, very easy for him to overtake me, because like we've done so many times before, I'm in a Toro Rosso car, need to play this a little bit clever. I'll let Verstappen overtake Palmer, and hopefully pray is that he holds Palmer up and I can overtake Palmer that way, because at that stage of the race, I actually genuinely just didn't have the pace to catch Palmer and re-overtake him, so I needed something like this to hold him up. You can see into the final corner whilst we lock up. Verstappen goes down the inside of Palmer, does hold him up by sending him wide there, and so as the sun starts to come out, we get a bit of nice sun glare down the main straight. We are going to start closing up Palmer, and by the end of this lap even, we are going to be right up his gearbox now in lean mixture, trying to save a load of fuel, because once we get past Palmer, we've got a bit of clean air to try and catch Hulkenberg, and I want to have some rich mix to maybe try and close up to the German, but we go with DRS and a bit of a weird sun glare glitch there, I think, as the sun kind of tries to blind me once more, just like in qualifying. We go down the inside of our fellow Brit, so close there, but still leaving them room on the inside. We're going to go around the outside. It's going to be very, very close. He'll try and squeeze out. He will squeeze out indeed, just like Sainz did on lap 1 of this race. So we're going to have to try and slipstream him into the end of sector 1. We will get some good speed. So here we go down the inside now. He's going to outbrake me actually initially, but then in the second phase of the braking zone, we do close up a little bit by rolling the car through, and then once again round the outside. Palmer once again squeezes me to the grass very aggressively. Fair play, but we go and stick it still down the inside, trying not to make contact, but just trying to keep our car in here, and we're still going to go through the double right-hander. He's just going to get that place, but we're going to get better traction because of that, because we've taken a bit of we've opened up the corner a little bit more basically by opening up our steering wheel, and now we'll go down the inside again for this next corner, locking up a tad. A little bit of contact is made there on the entry as that entire part of the track kind of narrows up. You can see big tank slapper on the exit, where we wrestle the car through to still stick it down the inside for about the 5th time now on this lap. So this is absolute ding-dong battle here with Jolly and Palmer for an entire lap almost. We just about get it on the flat-out corner there on the left-hander, and we finally got past Palmer. That was probably more of a fight against Jolyon Palmer than I ever thought was possible against Jolyon Palmer. But anyway, we now move on to lap 16 now, trying to close up on, well, the next car's Raikkonen. What on earth are you doing, mate? Raikkonen is, he's had a big issue. He was coming off from the left-hand side, so I think he's been spun round or has a car issue, because we actually tried to close him up a little bit. So I believe it's a car issue for Raikkonen that's kind of stricken him there to nearly T-boning us on the track, because if I had not broken and I'd continued to continue on, I definitely would have ploughed into his side pod there. And you can see into the sector 2, he's going very, very slowly on the entry to that corner. We actually try and go round the outside of a Ferrari car, which was never even going to work out, because no matter how much how broken that Ferrari car is, I still don't have the downforce in the Toro Rosso to make that move work on a Ferrari. But Raikkonen definitely does have some issue, otherwise he would be steaming away from us. And now Palmer is closing up to us, so Kinney is really not helping our cause here. He's holding me up, backing me into Palmer, and also not helping me close up to Hulkenberg. You can see we got very, very close on the front right tyre there. We just about make the move, and Palmer's eventually going to get past him as well. So now as we move on to lap 16, the end of lap 16, Stoffel Van Dorn out of this Grand Prix, and for the first time this season, that's going to trigger a safety car here. So we're going to save some more fuel and really have a lot to burn at the end of this race to maybe catch up to cars. And obviously, we're going to close up to some people now with the safety car, but this is why Van Dorn parked up here. Engine failure for him, smoke come out of the back of that McLaren Honda. So now we come on to lap 19, we're down in P18 because we have made a pit stop onto a fresh set of soft tyres, and so now on the restart we're going to try and overtake Marcus Ericsson. So if you're wondering why we're in last place, it's because we have made an extra pit stop. Well, not an extra one, we've made a scheduled pit stop, but I made it earlier than I thought I would be doing, because obviously you get a free pit stop under the safety car effectively, because you're all going to close up due to the safety car being out. So we stick it down the inside now of the second Sauber this race around the outside of Pasco Wehrlein there, and so now we'll try and close up on Fernando Alonso, the second McLaren car. Good to see he's still going here after 20 laps of probably pure torture at Malaysia with obviously the long straight, but I'm sure he'll park up a little bit earlier than scheduled with a engine problem, we'll say in quote marks. We go down the inside of him though and overtake him. We won't see him for the rest of this afternoon, although to be fair to him, look at that, the proximity area, he's actually still trying to keep it in, because of course the McLaren does have a decent chassis on it, but then eventually when the traction and power comes down into the middle part of that section, we do eventually get it. Now we can get on the back of what will be Lance Stroll in the first Williams car. We're seeing this race down the inside, very, very opportunistic move, but we just about get it and slice it in between him and Grosjean, narrowly missing the rear end of that Haas car. And then you can see on the right hand side he does come in. You can see a whole gaggle of cars come in. Now this is exactly why I did a pit stop under the safety car. It was literally a free pit stop, because all those guys come in for a pit stop whilst we're racing on the green flag, not under the slower delta time of safety car conditions. You can see though we get overtaken by Lance Stroll. We're trying to re-overtake him there. He actually had a bit of an issue into turn 1, so he kind of forced us wide actually, probably unintentionally, but now we're going side by side with him on the exit. We'll get it around the outside. Obviously the Williams car has been a very, very decent car this season so far, so this is actually a genuine big fight to put up to try and re-overtake him and keep him behind now. And so it's with 6 laps to go there, and we're in P3 at the moment. Actually, I've only just noticed that we're in a podium freaking position right now with 6 laps to go, so we've got to try and desperately defend from Lance Stroll. This is a fight for position here, as Stroll does get DRS, but then he locks up into the last corner, showing his rookie kind of skills there. Obviously I'm a rookie technically in this season as well, but we get the position back now. And so yeah, I've just realised this is maybe another Austrian moment. We got 2nd place at the Austrian Grand Prix, remember. This will be for 3rd place, but if we can keep on to this will be a fantastic podium. Although saying that, into turn 1 you can see lost a bit of concentration, locked up, gone a little bit wide as the car's rear end snaps out at me, and so we narrowly just about keep P3 for now on lap 23. Onto a lap 25 though, to be fair to us, we are keeping Stroll very, very honest and in our back pocket for now. You can see using rich mix that we did save up under the safety car, going to the hairpin. You can see behind us Stroll is closing up with DRS, but not enough, and down the main straight as well, able to just keep him at bay with the rich mix. But then eventually onto lap 26 this is, so 2 laps to go. When we get to the end of this lap, we go very, very wide and lose the back end going into that corner, one of the hardest corners in Formula 1, they say, and also in my opinion on this game, one of the hardest corners. I find it a real tough challenge in practice at least, and throughout the race definitely was a bit of an issue to keep up with the AI through that corner. And so Stroll tries to go around the outside. I defend to the inside as naturally I would. That forces him wide a little bit, and that will actually give Valtteri Bottas a very good run on him. You can't see him quite yet, but there he is right up Stroll's gearbox there. And as we go to an overhead shot, this is going to give us a really good view. So we go into turn 1. You can see Bottas there on the left-hand side around the outside of Lance Stroll there, which will turn to the inside for the second turn. So Bottas, a bit of nice racecraft there from him, although Stroll does put up a fight, you can see on the exit, to be fair to him, to try and keep that position, but eventually, obviously, the Mercedes car is going to win out, and he's up into P4, and so for now, for us, with a lap and a half to go, I have some sort of hope of maybe keeping Bottas behind, but it's not like Austria. It really isn't. It's a very different situation. Austria, obviously, we had a very green track because the rain had come down, so there was no kind of rubber, but obviously now we've had so many more laps here at Malaysia where the track has rubbered in now, and you can see clearly the Mercedes car working very, very well on those medium tyres for Bottas as he goes, trying to go around the outside, and he actually does completely just out-traction me, out-downforce me basically around the outside. I try my best to maybe just put him off by squeezing him towards the right-hand side. Gives us a lovely little panning shot as we go down the main straight, and then into turn 1, I swoop back to the racing line. As you can see there, Daniel Ricciardo going around the outside of the Canadian there to get up into P5, but eventually we just can't do it. We just can't keep Bottas behind, and so he's up into P3, so the podium dream is over. It's just over. It's confirmed there. So now on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. The best we can do now, after having to save some fuel in the midway of that lap, is keeping Daniel Ricciardo behind, obviously our senior team member, Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull racing car. We've done it before with Max Verstappen. Can we do it with the other man, Ricciardo? We go very, very aggressively to the right. We're going to then move to the inside then. One more position change to then kind of stay here for the inside line for the brake zone of the hairpin. Coming through the final corner, Ricciardo has a look, can't quite make it, so we are going to come home for a really, really good P4 here in the Toro Rosso. I'm very happy with that. A little bit unfortunate we couldn't keep the podium, but P4, I will well and truly take that after a bit of a struggle at the very start of this Grand Prix on intermediates. I will definitely take that. That's going to be a good 12 points.
A great win then for the Mercedes team today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
And here are our podium drivers today after that excellent race. They've excelled here, as they so often do, and it's a well-deserved victory. Mercedes, then, are on top today.
So Lewis Hamilton comes home with another win this season, and for me, it kind of looks like I would put my money on him for being the AI car to win the Drivers' Championship, to be honest. But there you go, a brilliant P4. You can see a 2-stop there. Obviously, technically, it was almost a 1-stop strategy because of the second stop being under the safety car, as I mentioned. It is basically a free pit stop, and so it didn't really happen because I closed up right to the back of the two Saubers and was back to where I was pretty much before the pit stop phases in no time after that safety car. So really good strategy. Once again, just like Austria, if you pull off the right strategy, you can really, really do it, especially in changeable conditions. It's worked out for us twice now in this season. Really, really happy with that, and that does mean we do securely keep 4th place for now. Looking good on that front. Williams overtake Force India. So Force India now have gone from being the 4th best team in the standings at the very start of this season to now just ahead of Renault. That is, well, not just ahead of Renault, but you know what I mean, like ahead of Renault now in P7, just behind Williams on points. That is actually mad. That's crazy that Force India have fallen that back 4 positions. So yeah, I said it before, I said it again. It's going to be a very interesting end to the season. I actually am curious to see if Force India may bounce back, where Haas are going to be, because they were on steroids the last 2 rounds. They weren't really anywhere this race, so yeah, it's an interesting one for sure. But finally, and annoyingly, we finally get this upgrade, or are going to repurchase the upgrade to fix it. And I haven't heard of a part breaking twice in a row. If that would happen, I may cry on this part, because I really do want this engine upgrade, because that'll help us quite greatly for the next few rounds to the end of the season. But hopefully that doesn't happen. I think that'd be quite harsh if it did. But we finally got that, and so we can look forward to that one for the next round. So guys, if you have enjoyed this episode though, smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Guys, I've been loving the support on this series still so far. We're on episode 15 now, and you guys are still killing it with the likes. Thank you guys so much for that, and it's been great also to read through your comments and stuff and seeing how much you guys are loving the daily career mode episodes. So thank you guys once again for all of that. Much love. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly forum content. I've been Aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.